Uriel the angel and Little Ash, short for Ashmedai, are the only two supernatural creatures in their shtetl, which is so tiny it doesn't have a name other than Shtetl. The angel and the demon have been studying together for centuries, but pogroms and the search for a new life have drawn all the young people from their village to America. When one of those young people, Essie, goes missing, Uriel and Little Ash set off to find her. Along the way, the angel and demon encounter humans in need of their help, including Rose Cohen, whose best friend and the love of her life has abandoned her to marry a man, and Malke Shulman, whose father died mysteriously on his way to America. But there are obstacles ahead of them as difficult as what they've left behind. Medical exams and demons at Ellis Island, corrupt officials, cruel mob bosses, murderers, poverty. The streets are far from paved with gold. Here is a preview of When the Angels Left the Old Country by Sacha. In the back corner of the little synagogue in the Shtetl that was so small and out of the way, it was only called Shtetl, there was a table where an angel and a demon had been studying Talmud together for some 200 years. Indeed, they had been studying in that corner since before the little shul was built, and had been rather startled to look up one day and realize an entire building had sprung up around them. Because the corner they had claimed for their own was close to the door and far from the stove, no one had ever felt it necessary to question their presence. They were always there. There was no reason to assume they would ever not be there. They showed up to study and sometimes could be seen davening in the back of the shul at Minyan, too, but never when there were fewer than 10 men in the room. One of them never wore a tallis, and the other wore a tallis even during the night, folded over his back like a pair of delicate wings. The demon's name was Ashmedai. He was not the demon king Ashmedai you may have heard of, but one of that Ashmedai's children. The demon king enjoyed an over-generous measure of self-regard and had named a great number of his children after himself. Perhaps he intended to stymie the angel of death. Perhaps he had trouble thinking of another name. In any case, our Ashmedai was a very minor prince of demons, belonging to that class of creatures other people might call fairies, and the Jews know as Shadim, mischievous spirits of the earth who enjoy leading people astray. Most of those who knew him did not call him by his full name, but shrank it to fit his stature and called him Little Ash. Little Ash knew hardly any magic and did not even have the wings with which most adult demons fly from place to place. He had made trouble in the demons' yeshiva, where they learn their magic, and without completing his studies, he had been sent to Poland, where he found he liked it better than at home. As in his father's palace, other demons were always treating him like a child and telling him what to do. The angel had been sent to Shtetl for a purpose it had now forgotten, and had stayed in Shtetl to hinder the mischievous whims of Little Ash. Like Little Ash, it resembled a human youth. Unlike Little Ash, who considered himself to be male, the angel had merely chosen the shape of a man for convenience, as angels have done since the time of Abraham, our father. It had never had a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah or any such ceremony at all, and had never bothered to wish for one. Its name, of course, changed according to the activity in which it was engaged. At the moment, the angel's name was Argument. They call it the Golden Land, said Little Ash. All the young people are going there. Golden Land, said the angel. Ashel, I have no interest in gold. Why should I? I find gold excites the Yetzer Hara terribly. Yetzer Hara, Yetzer Shmara, said Little Ash. We're not talking about the evil inclination. You, said the angel, are always talking about the evil inclination. Little Ash slapped a hand on the table next to the open volume of Talmud. The noise was loud enough to startle the doe goat who was ruminating in the doorway, but not loud enough to startle the old men, who were the only others in the shoal at the moment. It was a market day, and most of the people of Shtetl had gone to a larger town nearby to earn money for their Shabbos dinners. The men would be home soon for the evening service, bringing the town gossip with them. Little Ash had started the argument with the angel, as he usually did. Little Ash, being young and unmarried, preferred the company of young, unmarried people because he did not understand anyone else, and he found that youth made people particularly open to his mischievous suggestions. Lately, all of the people he liked best had been leaving their shtetl. There were no jobs for Jews in Poland, everyone was saying, but in America they had jobs. In America they had all kinds of wonderful things, according to the papers, and to the gossip Little Ash had heard from those whose families had sent them letters. It was not only that America sounded exciting, although it did. It was also that Shtetl, which had always been small, was even smaller and quieter now. Little Ash was finding it harder to go about his business and was afraid that people would start to notice his presence, and then he would be banished or else eaten up by one of the Gentile demons from the towns around them, who were always throwing rocks at him and telling him to keep to his own territory. The pogroms in the east had everyone unsettled, always looking over their shoulders. Shtetl was too small to merit that kind of trouble, but if trouble ever came, it was certainly too small to survive it. I was already listening to whatever you were going to say, said the angel in reproach, taking Little Ash's hand and moving it farther from the sacred pages. There was dirt under the demon's fingernails, and he couldn't be trusted with books. Little Ash slapped the table again with the other hand. All I'm saying is, if the young people are going to America, oughtn't we go with them? Who will look after them if you don't? Who will foster the Yetzer Tov in the Golden Land for the children of Shtetl if not you? That's all I'm saying. The angel, who suddenly felt as if its name were going to change today, said, I'm sure they have rabbis in America. This was perhaps too confident on the angel's part, but Little Ash did not have time to mock it, because at this moment there was a noise of boots being knocked clean outside, and all the old men sat up a little straighter, for the rest of the minyan had come back from the market. Little Ash, ears keen for gossip, turned around at once and jabbed the angel with a sharp elbow when it kept its eyes on its page of Talmud. Look, look, he hissed, it's Samuel the baker. His daughter has gone to America. The angel did not remember who either Samuel the baker or his daughter was, and it only wanted to return to its studies, but it sighed and closed the book, knowing Little Ash wouldn't settle down until the prayers started. The men did not seem close to starting their prayers. The younger ones, who'd just come in, were explaining the news, which could take them quite a while, depending on how the weather and the prices and the road had been, and of course, depending on whether anyone had run afoul of the Tsar's officials, which could delay the first blessings by nearly half an hour. I've tried to get word through the agent, Samuel the baker was saying. Fischel, they call him. He promised he'd take care of everything, but it's not like Essie not to write. Did you check the newspapers? Said one of the other men. There haven't been any ships gone down, have there? God forbid. There was a notice her ship had come in, said Samuel. Believe me, I was watching for it. The worried tone of the conversation had finally caught the angel's attention. Our sages tell us that angels only understand Hebrew, the holy language, but our angel, with great effort, had taught itself Aramaic in order to occupy Little Ash by reading Talmud with him. Despite many centuries of exposure to other languages, however, it had never been quite able to wrap its head, or any tongues it happened to possess, around any language that was written with vowels. The men were speaking in Yiddish, and so it did not know what they were saying. Why are they upset? Essie hasn't written back from America. Who is Essie? The baker's daughter! You remember, she used to sit in his lap and he'd read the Talmud to her before she became a woman and had to go do women's things. Hush, I'm listening. It seemed, from what the men were now saying, that there had in fact been no word from America, and Essie's last message had been from Warsaw, which wasn't, after all, so far away. She'd met with the immigration agent, Reb Fischel from Krumer Street, and written her family to say she had her tickets and was to take the train to Hamburg. From there, she should have been in America already. Samuel the baker was now trying, with the help of his friends, to make small numbers bend into the shapes of larger ones, in order to convince himself that he could afford to leave his business for a day or two and go to Warsaw himself. No one was keeping score, but if they had been, they would have been able to tell you that Little Ash hardly ever lost an argument with his friend the angel. Of course, as is the nature of these things, it usually turned out that whatever selfish, mischievous, or destructive impulses he put in the hearts of the people he encountered eventually led to new forms of selfless creation. In this case, Little Ash had planted the idea of leaving their village in the head of the angel. When he explained to it what was happening, it took this idea and turned it around, so that it was no longer an idea to go see the world and entertain themselves, but the idea of doing a mitzvah. Forget America, Ashel, it said. Tell me how we can go to Warsaw. And this has been a preview of When the Angels Left the Old Country.